Good day and good afternoon. Welcome to an afternoon edition of the Maryland Public Services Administrative Meeting. It's been a busy week for the Commission, as many of you know. Earlier this week on Monday, we approved a utility proposal to install approximately 5,000 electric vehicle chargers ranging from Potomac Edison's service territory all the way out till Delmarva's territory. For those who read the order, it recognized the benefits of a well-managed charging infrastructure fleet and the role of the utilities as we move forward towards the electrification of our transportation sector. I suspect this will just be the first of many filings that the Commission will tackle as electric vehicles proliferate and as the state begins to achieve its goal of having 300,000 electric vehicles on the road by 2025, and as we reach a number of our climate objectives. So that was Monday. Yesterday we issued a master meter conversion study report that evaluated a number of factors of what it would take to change buildings with master meters to either sub-meters or some additional type of energy savings device. Master meters are obviously commonly found in older apartment buildings and condominium buildings. And our study, which we worked with a private consulting firm, evaluated a number of costs and savings associated with sub-meter conversion studies. That was tendered to the General Assembly yesterday and is publicly available on our website. And lastly, today we issued a report that touched on a number of items, including standard offer service and the state of competition regarding the electricity supply market. We reviewed data from 2018, and as of now, currently, almost half of Maryland's electric supply is supplied by a competitive supplier. Of that, approximately 1 in 5 residential customers has exercised choice, including myself, and have begun to shop around and choose a product that best serves their needs. This has been the policy of the state to have a healthy competitive electric market, and this report highlights a lot of the issues that have occurred since our last report 5 years ago. I would say it's important to note that the PSC, while we do not regulate the prices of these competitive electric suppliers, we do provide oversight and enforcement. We take that role seriously and enforce the license terms when any issues are brought to our attention. With that, today is Wednesday and we have our meeting. We have some minutes from the January 9th meeting. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the minutes from the January 9th, 2019 administrative meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Madam Secretary, today's consent agenda.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. There are 4 items on the consent agenda today. The first item is Nextility, filed on October 19, 2018, a request to cancel its electricity and gas supplier licenses. Second item is Source Power and Gas LLC, filed on November 1, 2018, notice of an agreement to assign its customer contracts to Direct Energy Business LLC. The third item is Llewellyn Enterprises LLC, DBA Interchange Power and Gas, filed on November 5, 2018, an application for a license to supply electricity or electric generation services in Maryland. And the last item on the consent agenda, number 4, is Bollinger Energy Corporation, filed on November 26, 2018, a request to amend its existing natural gas supply license to include broker services for all Maryland customer classes in the service territory of Baltimore Gas and Electric Company and Washington Gas Light Company.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Do commissioners have any questions on the consent items?
Chairman, I did have a question on number 4. I don't know if staff knows or not, but in the write-up on that, they say there are no open complaints filed against the company, which would be Bollinger. Do we know if they have any history? That's the only thing I wanted to ask.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Matt Bonikowski for staff. We did look into this. I do believe that there were a handful of resolved complaints in Maryland. There were no unresolved complaints. I don't remember the details, but that's certainly something we could provide if you wanted that information.
Just as we talk about these companies, these suppliers, be helpful to understand their history of complaints as well, not just if they have any active. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can I just ask just one question? I noted that the application to supply electricity is on the consent and not the administrative. Is there a reason this time it ended up on this side of the agenda and not the administrative side?
You're referring to item number
I'm
3?
sorry, item number 3.
I'm not sure why specifically. My assumption would be that there were no issues identified by staff with that bucksheet. Those comments were actually written by Ms. Shaw, so I'm not sure what their contents was, but I'm assuming that's because there were no issues identified.
Madam Secretary.
Excuse me, that was a decision by myself because there were no issues that were on the buck sheet or the comments from the staff, so we chose to put it on the consent agenda, and those items will be on the consent agenda unless there appears to be an issue.
Okay, very good. I just noted that my time here, they've always been on the administrative agenda, so thank you for that answer.
Any additional questions? Thank you. Is there a motion for the 4 items?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. For item number 1, I would move that we approve the cancellation request. For item number 2, I'd move that we note the filing. For item number 3, I'd move that we grant the company license to operate as an electricity supplier in Maryland, limited to broker services for the customer classes and service territories applied for and recommended by staff. Direct the company to provide marketing and training materials specific to its Maryland operations to the Commission staff 30 days prior to utilization of the materials in Maryland, and direct the company to file notice with the Commission within 30 days of any changes to the information in the application. And for item number 4, I'd move that we amend the company's natural gas supplier license to include broker services for all customer classes in the BGE and WGL service territories, and direct the company to file notice with the Commission within 30 days of any additional changes to the information in the application as amended.
Thank you, Commissioner Linton. Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
The 4 separate motions are approved. Before we move to the administrative agenda, I neglected to give my colleagues an opportunity to make any opening statements or reflect on our recent decisions, if there are any. Thank you. Madam Secretary, the administrative agenda.
Item 5 on the administrative agenda is PPE Casino Resorts Maryland LLC, DBA Maryland Live Casino and Hotel, filed on November 5th, 2018, request for waiver of annual distribution penalty.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Annette Garofalo on behalf of Commission staff. Maryland Live is requesting a waiver of the penalty provision in Baltimore Gas and Electric Company's gas tariff section 3.4 of Schedule IS for 2 of its facilities. Maryland Live takes service under Schedule IF of BGE's tariff and failed to fully cease gas usage at both of its facilities during a distribution system interruption day event, which triggered the penalties for failure to interrupt. Maryland Live takes gas service under Schedule IS of BGE's tariff. Customers taking service under Schedule IS are required to reduce their gas consumption to 0 or operate within contracted optional firm delivery service amounts within 2 hours of requesting a notice of an interruption. The company is not contracted for optional service and failed to fully cease gas usage, triggering the penalties under Section 3.4 of Schedule IS. However, Section 3.4 of that schedule allows customers meeting certain criteria to request a waiver of the penalties. These criteria include 4 elements that together demonstrate a good faith effort. The elements are efforts made prior to the interruption to be fully compliant, the reason why compliance was not attained, such as sudden failure of alternate fuel equipment, efforts to correct noncompliance during the interruption, and customer actions after the interruption to be fully compliant in the future. Any credits granted to customers through the waiver process result in equivalent debits to Rider 8, the customer's monthly rate adjustment. Upon receiving notice of interruption, Maryland Live initially complied, operating for approximately 12 hours on alternate fuel before experiencing a catastrophic mechanical failure. As a result of the mechanical failure, the company used approximately 4,598 therms of natural gas during the non-compliant portion of the interruption period. As described in staff's comments, Maryland Live took actions which, in staff's view, meet the four components necessary to receive a waiver, including passing the physical interruption test prior to the required interruption noncompliance that was out of the customer's control, immediate efforts to correct the noncompliance, and appropriate actions to avoid noncompliance in the future. Staff recommends the Commission grant the penalty waiver.
Thank you, Ms. Garofalo. Counsel for the casino.
I'm just here to answer any questions. Howard Weinstein, General Counsel. Along with me is Mike Cray, Vice President of Operations and Facilities for the casino.
Thank you, Mr. Weinstein. You're the General Counsel for Maryland Live?
That's correct.
Okay. Why did it take so long for Maryland Live to file this request? I see that the event occurred more than a year ago.
The event occurred early January of 2018. The delay was attributed to a combination of factors. One is we had two huge construction projects that were underway, diverting everybody's attention. The other was a change in staff. The individual who was responsible for shepherding this abruptly left. And
Well, that happens from
that does
time to
happen.
time. The boiler, was it under warranty?
No.
Okay. All right. So there was no ability to have any indemnification as a result of the penalties incurred?
No. Pretty much what has happened is that we had an inspection in the summertime, and then found out there were some things that we needed to fix. We started to fix it, and the boilers were running great. And then we went into the shutdown for it. They just malfunctioned to stop burning diesel.
How often do you test that extra boiler?
For running on diesel,
Yes.
we do it now. We do it biannually, twice a year. We do a major and a minor PM service, and we run the boilers during that time.
And you provide a report to the utility when you run those tests?
We keep in touch with our rep from BG&E with all these type of these tests that we do.
Okay. Thank you. And I understand you're only testing the distribution portion of the penalty, not the commodity penalty. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for council? Commissioner O'Donnell.
I had a question for staff. Could staff describe what a physical interruption test entails?
Hello, Margaret Tuberty on behalf of staff. In my understanding, a very high-level example of what the physical interruption test would be is that the equipment is tested for an interruption. So it would, I believe when I talked to BGE, it runs for approximately 2 hours, but I can verify that amount.
Is it specified somewhere so that all the utilities do it the same way, or is it a test that's kind of designed by the utility for their service territory, for their interruptible customers?
That I am not 100% positive of. I do have copies of the physical interruption test. I believe it was provided to me. And if I didn't provide it in the DR attachment, I can certainly follow up with that as to what it would look like for BGE, but I can't really attest to what that would look like for other companies.
Here's why I'm asking the question. We get every year we get at least one of these, if not more, for an interruptible customer requesting a waiver of their penalties. And every time that I've seen one of these, in criteria 4 for granting the waiver, it says the question is, or the action is, customer actions after the interruption to be fully compliant in the future. And every time the first thing we say is, the company provided staff with verification that it successfully passed a PIT. But the PIT didn't prevent the original problem, so how can it prevent compliance? How can it provide compliance in the future? Really, I'm questioning the rigorousness of these PITs and whether or not they're effective in preventing these types of failures. I don't have a high degree of confidence that they are because of the history of these things that we see across the utilities. I don't know if staff has any comment that they want to talk about the rigorousness of these tests.
Good afternoon, Chairman Commissioners. I almost said morning. As for the PIT test, it is a fairly rigorous test. I think one of the issues is that oftentimes we don't have repeat interruption. So we don't have repeat waiver requests from the same individuals. These are usually scattered over different companies. So I think if the efficacy of the PIT question is at hand, we would have more indication that it wasn't if we had companies coming in year after year after year. You know, every time there was an interruption, you had the same company coming in.
Well, maybe they don't come back because they were facing a large penalty and they don't want to face that again. I still don't have a large degree of confidence that these pits prevent the occurrence, because they don't. They apparently don't.
I think that it is the first step in the prevention. You know, the pit tests they are a little bit difficult and costly to pull off. You have to shut down all the operations and flip over. However, you know, it is hard to say whether or not in between the time that the pit test is effectuated and when an interruption actually occurs, there may be something that does malfunction. Oftentimes it's the nozzles for the fuel.
I just, I am inclined to believe that maybe because they faced a penalty that they're a little bit more, that customers may be a little bit more diligent in maintaining the equipment capacity to provide service and the ability to interrupt because they don't want to come in here again. So
Does counsel for the utility have anything to add to Commissioner O'Donnell's question?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Beverly Secor on behalf of BGE. You know, I'd say in our experience, we really didn't have many we didn't have any interruptions before, I think it was 2012. My years are kind of getting mixed up. But we have seen great improvement in compliance since that time, and we do, at least in part, believe it's because of the pit that's going on. You know, the first couple of interruptions, we had quite a few people who were non-compliant because they weren't doing what they needed to make sure that their equipment was ready to come online when called upon. Since then, you know, it's 1, 2 each time we've had an interruption. So, you know, we feel that it has been, you know, it's not perfect customers, but you know, they're doing a lot more to make sure that things are online. They're making sure that their procedures are in place. So, you know, we have seen improvement.
do you know if Ms. Sakura, if the tests are standardized across the utilities in Maryland?
I don't believe they are. As far as I know, we designed ours on our own, and I'm not aware that we've ever communicated about it with any of the other utilities.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I will add, though, that staff said that with these customers, they get 2 hours, or they have 2 hours to comply. These customers actually get 6 hours. We have another class of interruptible customers that get 2 hours. But we really have been striving to give them more time, as much time as we can, so that they can do what they need. Like in Maryland Live's case, they did say that they started running the equipment ahead of time to see that if it was working. So, you know, we are trying to give as much notice as possible to customers so that they can do what they have to do.
Ms. Secor, does the utility have a position? I didn't see one on record with respect to the request by the casino.
We generally don't take positions on these, but, you know, we recognize, I mean, Maryland Live, you know, like I said, did start to comply. As soon as they had issues, they contacted us, which is what, you know, we want them to do. I will note that they had to take a pit this past winter, and they did pass. So, you know, from our perspective, they've done the things that they needed to do. So, you know, we certainly don't object to it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, no other commissioners have questions. Is there a motion on this item?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move we grant the company the requested waiver.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is approved. Don't forget to play a hand at the casino, Horseshoe Casino, before you head back to Anne Arundel County. The next item, Madam Secretary.
Item number 6 is Baltimore Gas and Electric Company filed on December 14, 2018, Supplement 451 to PSC G9, Rider 7, gas choice and reliability charges. The company proposes to revise the system growth capacity costs and the gas choice program costs rate.
Annette Garofalo again. Baltimore Gas and Electric Company is proposing to update its Rider 7 gas choice and reliability charges effective for the 12 months beginning with February 2019 billings. By its filing, BGE proposes to decrease the current rate for the system growth capacity costs and the gas choice program costs from .0034 cents to .0012 cents. Maybe those, I should say dollars, but less than a penny. For all firm distribution customers, exclusive of customers equipped with daily metering equipment. In addition, the customer proposes to decrease the rate for customers equipped with daily metering equipment, electing standby service from .0036 to .0017. And finally, the company proposes to decrease the rate charged to third-party suppliers from .0079 to minus .0008. Unmitigated capacity costs are recovered through the GCRC, and therefore the 2019 rates are positive, with the exception of the third-party suppliers rate. The negative rate for third-party suppliers reflects the company's ability to fully mitigate and recover all polar capacity costs during the 2018 billing year. Staff recommends the Commission accept BGE's proposed update to Rider 7 GCRC for filing to be effective for the 12-month period beginning with February 2019 billings.
Thank you. Does Counsel for the Utility have anything to add?
No, I'm just here for questions.
Any questions from the Commissioners? Commissioner O'Donnell.
As I read this the other day, I was trying to get my head around how do you deal with a negative rate? How does that work? How does a negative rate work?
I asked that very question to the analyst, so I'm going to let her answer that.
Margaret Tuberty again on behalf of staff. When I discussed this with the company, it was my understanding that a negative rate implies that the company was able to mitigate all of the capacity costs. In this case, for the POLR third-party supplier rate for this
But
for
wouldn't
this
it
year.
just be then zero instead of a negative rate? I don't get
In table, let's see, table 1, table 2. Table 1 provides a history of the third-party supplier rates, well, for all the rates, both for firm and system growth capacity costs. And as you can see, the negative rate, there's actually a history of negative
Yeah,
rates.
I see
over
that.
the
I'm
last
just trying to understand the
6
concept.
years. And in addition, there will be a true-up filing for this later in the year.
And is it like a credit? Does it act as a credit to the third-party supplier, or how does that work? Company?
Yes, it acts as a credit. I'll admit this is not one of my most favorite filings. It's pretty complicated. The problem, I don't sense a problem, but we're looking at, because we'll have excess capacity, we first are estimating how much excess capacity we think we're going to have for the upcoming winter, and we're basing that on basically design day, the worst case scenario. But then when you get into, and so when we're doing the calculation, we're basing it on that estimated amount, and then we're also basing it on estimated rates that we think we'll get, because we'll go out and we'll use the capacity to do off-system sales, not so much, but we could do capacity releases as well. And so, you're having to estimate what you think you're going to get for those. What has happened in this case is, last year we estimated an amount that we thought we were going to get for mitigation, and as it turned out, we did way better than what we had estimated. And so, to your question about it going to zero, it could, but the suppliers last year paid based on an amount, and so if we didn't give them a credit this time, we've kind of ended up overcharging them because our estimates were on the low side last year, so that's why we do give them the negative when it comes out that way.
Okay, so if it's a credit, that helps to answer my question.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move the Commission accept the tariff revisions for filing effective for the 12-month period beginning February 2019 with the February 2019 billings.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is approved.
Item number 7 is Baltimore Gas and Electric Company filed on December 14, 2018, Supplement 452 to PSG 9, Rider 3, standby service price. The company proposes to revise its standby service price.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners. Michael Dean on behalf of staff. Item 7 is a tariff filing by the Baltimore Gas Electric Company revising its Gas Rider 3 standby service price under Public Utilities Section 4-202 and COMAR 20.55.03.01. A gas company tariff is listed its rates and charges, terms and conditions, and policies and practices in providing regulated service. The tariff filing updates the standby service price using the method approved by the Commission in Order Number 79472. Staff has reviewed the filing and concluded that the rate was calculated correctly. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the proposed tariff for filing to be effective for the 12-month period beginning with February 2019 billings.
Thank you. Do the Commissioners have questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, for item number 7, I move we accept the tariff revisions for filing effective for the 12-month period beginning with February 2019 billings.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is approved.
Item number 8 is Delmarva Power and Light Company, filed on December 7, 2018. Revised tariff pages. The company proposes to make updates to reflect the type of services and equipment provided in Schedule OL.
We can do number 9 also.
Okay, and then item 9 is Potomac Electric Power Company, filed on December 7, 2018. Revised tariff pages. The company proposes to make updates to reflect the types of service and equipment provided in schedules SSL OH-LED and SSL UG-LED.
Michael Dean again on behalf of staff. Items 8 and 9 are tariff filings by the Delmarva Power and Light Company and the Potomac Electric Power Company, updating the lighting equipment and services available to include smart LED fixtures. Under Public Utilities Section 4-202 and COMAR 20.50.03.02, an electric company tariff is to list its rates and charges, terms and conditions, and prices, policies and practices in providing regulated services. The schedule of available lighting fixtures is being updated to include smart LED fixtures. Staff has reviewed the filing and recommends that the Commission accept the revised tariff pages for filing with an effective date of January 17, 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. As I was reading, well, both box sheets are relatively similar, but is there any connection, or does Delmarva have an interest in the Tacoma Park project whatsoever? I didn't see the connection between, obviously, Tacoma Park is in Pepco's service territory. What was Delmarva's interest in that project?
Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. Drew McAuliffe on behalf of staff. Delmarva, I don't believe, has any connection to the Tacoma Park project specifically, just because they're sister companies that Pepco is getting a lot of interest in smart equipment attached to LED lighting fixtures that I believe they just made the tariff change for both in anticipation of possible smart equipment for LED upgrades into Delmarva's territory.
So something similar to the Tacoma Park project in Delmarva's territory?
Yeah, if any.
Okay.
This is just, I guess, preemptive in Delmarva's territory.
And this is all street lighting related?
Yes, outdoor LED lighting, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Just a comment. Commissioner Herman and I attended a briefing last week from PHI companies about technological advancements and smart technologies that they're employing. And we had a discussion about these smart streetlights. I find the deployment of this technology exciting, to the extent that this stuff can be exciting. but you know, it offers a great opportunity, not only LED luminaires for street lighting, but certainly the technology to use the communication systems to make these systems work to maximum advantage. And I think there's a great opportunity across the state to not only save energy, but save truck rolls and many other things deploying this technology. So I was glad to see these filings.
Thank you. Is there a motion on these? Oh, Commissioner Herman.
So, I have a technical question. On the Delmarva leaf, second leaf 83, I think there might be a word missing. Under B, character of service. It's second leaf 83 up on the Delmarva one on the top right. You see the leaf number.
Sorry, Commissioner Herman, can you state again the error that you spotted?
Character of service. It's lighting service is available for any approved lighting source along with Smart Ready. Smart associated equipment includes. Isn't it just that includes or something? It doesn't seem to. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, Mr. Mike Heel, but it seemed like there might have been a missing word.
It should be including, but not limited to, not
Okay.
includes.
All right.
Sorry for the typographical error.
Thank you. Perhaps we can fix that when we, I don't think we have to refile. I'm just suggesting if it's a typographical error, that let's fix it in the tariff so that it,
Yes, we'll
read
file a
properly.
compliance filing with it, including instead of includes.
Thank you very much. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any corresponding change to the Pepco
No.
tariff sheets? No. Okay. Thank you. At this time, is there a motion on both items 8 and 9?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. For item number 8 and number 9, I move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of January 17th, 2019.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Both items are approved.
The last item on the agenda is item 10, Delmarva Power and Light Company, Potomac Electric Power Company, filed on December 20, 2018, revised tariff pages. The company each proposed to revise the distribution rates for the residential time of use pilot program.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Lloyd Spivak for the Commission staff. Item number 10 is a tariff filing by the Potomac Electric Power Company and Delmarva Power and Light Company revising residential distribution time of use rates with an effective date of April 1st, 2019. These are actually corrected versions of previously filed rates approved by the Commission on December 6th. The rates previously accepted by the Commission on December 6th had apparently been developed using on-peak sales that did not reflect the on-peak hours for the pilot. Under Public Utilities Article, Section 4-203, public utility companies must file tariffs giving notice of new rates or changes in rates at least 30 days before the new rate is established or the current rate is changed. These are pilot time of use rates resulting from the work of one of the PC 44 work groups. They need to go into effect as soon as possible in order to give the utilities time to market the pilots to their customers. After staff's initial review, it was determined that there was a small error in the Pepco rates, but Pepco had not, because Pepco had not excluded Veterans Day from the on-peak sales in the calculation of the rates. The updated rates are set forth in staff's comments. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the revised tariffs with an effective date of April 1st, 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Spivak. Mr. Seegers, do you have anything to add?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Matt Seegers, appearing for Pepco and Delmarva. I have nothing to add to staff's analysis, just here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Veterans Day is a federal holiday. How did Pepco miss that?
For the year that was used in the most recent filing, Mr. Chairman, Veterans Day, it fell on a weekend, but it was observed on Friday during the weekday. So that's it's unfortunate, but that is how that one day did get missed.
Is this going to affect the timetable for? Obviously, you haven't started recruiting yet because of this issue.
That's correct.
The longer timetable, I think, we're brought through to April. Is that when recruitment ends?
It is when. I'm not sure if there is a hard date to when recruitment ends. As of right now, the pilot is going to going to start on April 1st. If the rates get approved today, then the PHI companies should be able to begin marketing around the beginning of February. And I know the work group is in discussions to see where we are in terms of recruitment around in March, I believe, so that if we have not reached a critical mass of customers by April 1st, there is a possibility to continue recruitment beyond April 1st, just so that we can get enough customers to sign up for this pilot so that we can have some good results.
Right. We need the minimum threshold numbers if this pilot is going to provide any meaningful results. So hopefully within the next week or two, after the commission acts, recruitment can begin. Commissioners. Commissioner Herman? Nope. Sorry.
So have we, has the company undertaken any action to make sure that this type of error doesn't occur again?
Yes, we have, Commissioner. In this particular case, prior to this filing being implemented, we implemented 4 specific measures. The first of which is that 2 separate independent data extracts, one of which provided usage for each of the total hours in the annual period, were performed. The results of both those extracts were found to be closely matched. The second measure was that the calculated ratio of on-peak to off-peak sales were compared between Pepco, Delmarva Power, and BGE. The ratios for all 3 companies were found to be consistent at approximately 15%. What that means is that 15% is the amount of usage that would need to be shifted in order for a customer to see savings. The third measure is that the ratio of on-peak to off-peak sales used in the rate design was compared to the same ratio for the customers selected for the pilot enrollment and found to be consistent at 15%. And finally, the results of the bill impact analysis were evaluated using the revised rates, and the results indicated that the frequency distribution of bill impacts of customers, they followed a normal distribution. So those are the measures that we undertook for this most recent filing, Your Honor.
And can you, how was it that this error was discovered?
After the approval of the rates, the utilities are working with our outside consultant, Brattle, on customer-specific impacts, and which information will be included in our marketing materials. And when we received the initial results back from Brattle, it showed that for the PHI companies, about 95% of customers would essentially win, or we would save money in this pilot. And right off the bat, you know that can't be right, because for a normal pilot, what the normal percentage range is, it's about 50-50. So that is essentially how this error was first detected. And then when we went back and found the error, we went through these measures, and then we submitted the most recent filing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Additional questions? Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of April 1st, 2019.
Thank you. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is approved.
Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Commissioners.
Seeing no additional business before the agency today, this meeting is adjourned.